Don't stop.
Hi, thanks so much for joining me in the Everything and Anything and a Bit Gay podcast. I am your host, Zach Brandos Friedman, and today I bring you my Friday Gay Bit. The Gay Bit, for those of you who don't know, it is my show that I do because my show is called Everything and Anything and a Bit Gay, but not all my episodes have anything gay to do with anything, and sometimes they're not gay enough. So I make up for all that gayness in this Friday show so you get the Gay Bit. So, my topic this week for my Gay Bit is a couple of things. I went out for drinks with my friend David and some other friends. And David, if you have listened to my podcast, this was actually a popular episode I did a few months ago, where David, at the age of 52, came out and told his wife, his 3 children, his 3 sons, his mom and dad, his in-laws, his brother, he told his whole family that he is gay and that he wanted to live his authentic life. So I met him. We went to dinner before the podcast happened, and we talked about doing the podcast, and then we did it. I launched it, and I haven't seen him since we launched it because people get busy. Everybody's busy in life, and we got to see each other again. We've been texting a lot since then, but we finally got to sit and kind of talk about it. And we reviewed the podcast and stuff and just talking about how positive it was. Like every single message that I got on Instagram or YouTube or DMs, except for one, there was one fucking troll that I had to kind of come after. And I forgot about it. And I mentioned it. I'm like, David, you got all positive because no, there was one guy, but then you like came at, you clapped back at him. So only one person. And I'm so proud of this episode because people's reactions were just so amazing. How proud they are that he's living his authentic self. It's that he finally can live who he is supposed to be. He had the courage and bravery to do this. And I'll tell you what I love the most is that David got DMs from people saying, thank you. I'm in the same boat as you and I'm trying to think how to tell my family. Or I just told my family and I'm now going through this as well. Or I'm on the download. I don't know if I'll ever tell my family, but I appreciate your story. Like he has gotten people asking for advice and guidance and stuff. And it's really, really nice because it makes people feel like I'm not the only one. And it just, maybe those people that haven't told their wife feel like, God, am I the only one feeling like this? Or what can I do? And David's story was so raw and real. And he did not hold back anything. And I think it helped so many people in more ways than he will know. But he did recognize that he helped people and that the episode was really good. And, I got DMs from people saying, thank you so much for putting this story out there. Sorry, I had to take a drink. I went to New York, a month or so ago and had brunch with 2 people that David knows. So just to give you a recap in case you don't know who David is, David went to elementary, junior high, and high school with my husband in Long Island. And so they've known each other for their entire lives. And so I am friends with Andrew's close friends that he went to high school with. He has a very big group of high school friends, and they have managed to have an amazing friendship circle for all these years. And I think it's amazing. And so we ended up, when we were in New York, we ended up having brunch with 2 of them, Sherry and Kim. And we talked about David in the podcast, and Sherry is a huge supporter. So is Kim. They both are. But Sherry calls herself the Queen of Gays. She is a huge supporter of the LGBTQ plus community. A lot of her friends are gay male guys. And she loves the gay community. And Kim is a huge supporter. All of Andrew's friends are supporters and I love them. But they both, were so complimentary and of David and just so proud of him. And it was just so nice to hear, because you never know what the reaction is going to be. If you come out the age of 12 or you come out the age of 52, you never know who's going to accept it and who's not going to. But everybody has been overwhelmingly accepting of David. And it makes me so happy that he could do this and that he's living be his authentic self. He's living his real life. He's not living a pretend world anymore. He can be who he is. So David and I met out with a couple of my friends at a bar in Boston, and we were talking. It was great because David is dating somebody that's got a that's well known. He's lived in Boston and he's been in the gay circle he's in all these gay sports leagues and stuff. And he knows a lot of gay people in Boston. Huge following, I think, on Instagram, seems to know every gay person in town. And that's good for David because David's meeting all these people and getting exposed to things he probably would have not gotten exposed to unless he was dating this guy. But what I realized is that David missed this entire period of his life. So when I was in my 20s living in South Beach and going out and living and going to gay bars or clubs and living a whole gay lifestyle in my 20s, that I got so much exposure to the LGBTQ plus community, met so many people. South Beach in the 90s was like its whole own unique scene. Then I moved to New York at 24, 25 years old, and I got the whole New York nightlife scene and exposed to, gay bars. Me and my husband were going out definitely every weekend, probably a few times during the week. And we met, but before I met my husband in New York, I was going out with my other friends, Trevor and Brady and all these people, and we were going out a lot to meet new people because we all just moved to New York. And I've had my fulfillment of being in the gay culture for 30 years, right? So, or more, 33 years at this point. And, there's a point where you're just like, okay, I don't, going to a gay bar is like nothing now. It's just like you go in. But it made me really step back whenever we were in our first bar that night. David was like a little reserved and like quiet. And he's not usually quiet. He's usually quick-witted and has comebacks for things. But he was meeting my friends. I'm like, is that why? And then I realized it's because he hasn't had that time in his life. He came out 3 years ago slowly. And, it isn't like he came out and then just started hopping right into gay bars and into LGBTQ plus culture. But he just told his family and his wife and 3 sons 3 years or less ago. And so he hasn't had exposure to the queens in the bars and to just that whole culture. The gay LGBTQ plus culture is a whole culture of its own. And it can be rough sometimes, and people can be, you have the bitchy gays, especially in this city in Boston, and you have bitchy queens everywhere. So we went to this bar, and David knew people, which I thought was great. And I introduced him to my friends, and we had a great time. And then one of my friends that he met, he's like, I've never been to Club Cafe. And I'm not bashing Club Cafe. I just don't love Club Cafe because last time I went with a friend of mine, we were walking from another bar to Club Cafe. We found some woman that was just walking. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? And she was really nice. And I'm like, come with us to a gay bar. She's like, okay. So she came with us to a gay bar. We're doing shots. I remember I just got this necklace from this, was it not Marc Jacobs. What's that guy's name? David Yurman. I had this necklace. It was like a $600 necklace. I'm like, wear this necklace. She was my best friend because I was so drunk. She wore it. I think she left at some point because she's like, these gays are too much for me. And so I lost that $600 or $700 necklace. I wore it that one time, never got it. And then my friend that I was with was doing so many shots. We were all buying shots for half of the people in the bar. We were very, very drunk. He finally got in an Uber. His husband at the time was texted or called by the Uber driver and said, you got to come get your husband out of the car because I think he's peeing on himself. And so he was a mess. I was living west of Boston at that time, about 14 miles west of Boston at a house that I owned there. And I decided I needed a black Uber that night, which is like the highest cost Uber. And it was $100, I think, just to get home. As we were going down 90 West, I decided I had too much to drink and I was going to throw up. So I roll down the window and I throw up all over the side of this black Escalade or whatever it was, this big black SUV. And so I got charged $150 for that. So I paid $250 to drive 14 miles at 2 in the morning in the Uber. And I don't know how. I mean, I was going to throw up at some point, and I guess there was at least I didn't throw up in the guy's car. But yeah, that is my feeling of Club Cafe. That is just bachelorette parties a lot of the time. So I don't love that at a gay bar. It is definitely been taken over bachelorette parties, but it's also a much, much younger crowd. And I'm not talking young like 27, 28. I'm talking young like 21-year-olds, these twinks, but they're older gentlemen friends. And I don't know what's happening in there. The vibe there is just not my scene. And a friend of mine has never been there before. And so I said, let's go check out Club Cafe. And we'll be right back. Okay, and now back to the show. So we walk from the bar that we were at and we go to Club Cafe, 40 minutes until closing. I walk in and immediately I'm just like, yep, there's an energy that's in Club Cafe. And I'm just like, this isn't for me. Because to get to the bar, you have to kind of push through because everybody's standing at this one bar and there's only this one bar open because the dance floor and stuff is closed, and the restaurant's closed. And we get to the bar and we're ordering some drinks. And then people that were at the bar we were at before also decided to migrate over to Club Cafe for, I guess, their last end of the night drink. And so we were talking to these people at the other place. And one guy that I know now, because I see him out whenever I go out every Thursday, I think he's at the bar that we go to several nights a week because he lives in the neighborhood and that's his like watering hole, I'll say. And I met his husband or boy, I think his husband. I met his husband at the other bar. And at the other bar, his husband had nothing to say to me. I'm like, all right, that's cool. Like, it doesn't bother me if you don't want to talk or if you're like that mean Boston gay. Cool with me. I don't need another friend. So all good. But when we went to Club Cafe, I don't know if his pills kicked in or if his alcohol kicked in or whatever he was doing, but he wanted to be our best friend. I knew his name. I knew where he grew up. I knew where he lived. I know where he works. I know his mother's name. I know his mother's maiden name. I know the last 4 digits of his social security number. I know everything about him. He was so chatty Cathy in Club Cafe. I'm like, I don't even know who the other person was in the bar because the other person in the bar didn't even want to look me in the eyes. But in Club Cafe, something magical happened where he wanted to be our best friend. It wasn't magic because I didn't really care. So he's talking to us, which I thought was very strange and bizarre. Then David is standing with me next to the bar. David's wearing a tank top. Again, he's a muscular guy. These twinks, I guess, really love that. And there's guys coming up pretending they're walking up to him behind his back and like we're going to pretend like they're in love with him, like they're going to talk to him. They don't. And I told this one guy, I'm like, you can talk to him. So talking to somebody is one thing, but then these twinks or wannabe twinks, they have to touch him and grope him and touch his arms and his chest. And I don't know, they didn't touch his dick or anything, but they're like grabbing his butt, I think, and stuff. So, and they're just like touching him. And David's like, this is so uncomfortable. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with these guys? Like, why do you think just because we're in a gay bar and you think they look good, you have the right to go up and just fucking grope them and touch them? No, you don't. You can't do that. And David being new to this whole community bar scene isn't used to this. So it's awkward. And I don't get it. So I have another story that I'll tell you that a few weeks before this, I was at the bar that we normally go to. And there was these 3 guys sitting at a table. And one of my friends thought one of them was cute. So my job is to be a matchmaker in a club. And so I walk up to these 3 guys and I said, hey, are you guys single? And they said, no, we're a throuple. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry for interrupting. One of my friends thought one of you were cute. And I was coming up to see if one of you were single, but obviously you're not. And two of them were very nice and stuff, and then one was like a little bitchy. And I'm like, all right. I said, well, you know what? I told the guy, you don't seem so nice. I'm going to leave. Awesome meeting you guys. Have fun with your throuple. And I walk away. So that was that. That night, the bar closed. We were all waiting for an Uber. The one guy of the throuple that wasn't nice to me walks out and he's like, I just got broken up with. I'm like, oh, really? Okay. And he wants to talk about it. And he keeps talking. And I go, why are you talking to me? You were not nice at all to me in the bar. You dismissed me basically. And I walked away right away. I don't care that you got broken up with. I said, the reason why you got broken up with is because you're not a nice person, probably. And he just kind of looks at me in shock. And my friend Tony is standing there. My friend Mark is standing there. And I think they're just like shocked that I'm like telling this guy, you're not nice. Like, learn to be kinder. Learn to be nice. When somebody's talking to you, you don't have to be bitchy. I was going to use another word. And I'll tell you why I didn't use that other word. But I told him how I felt about him. And I said, don't talk to me. I don't care what's happening in your life. I don't care who you are. I don't care that you were in a throuple. I don't care that you got broken up with. I tried to talk to you when we were in the bar. You had nothing to do with me. And this is why nobody wants to be with you. There's nothing special about him. Nobody has a right to be a mean gay. Like, just be nice. If somebody walks up to you and they start talking to you, like, take it in. I got the hint that you didn't want to like talk. My friend that I was with that came up to you also got the hint, and we both walked away. So, like, fine. You're in your deep conversation with your throuple, which I don't even know if it was really a throuple. But yeah, we got the message. We walked away. We didn't talk to you anymore throughout the night. We didn't even look your way, and we didn't care about you anymore. But when you come outside and you're trying to like pretend like we had the best conversation, we're best friends, no, I'm going to call you out on it. The reason I'm bringing all this up is because there's been a few times now where I have been out, and when I was out with my friend David, people knew who we were from my podcast because David has a good following and knows people in Boston. I have a decent following. I'm meeting people in Boston. So people kind of like said, oh yeah, I've seen your podcast or whatever. And so I have a podcast advisor that I meet with weekly, and he gives me, we talk about like what I want to do next on my podcast and how I can grow it and what I should be looking for. And just, he's worked with a lot of big podcast names and stuff. And he gives me good guidance where I can't really talk about some of the stuff with other people because nobody else understands the podcast world. And so he's been in this business and he gives me good advice. And so I tell him a few of these stories, how I was recognized because of my podcast, which is nice, that people are listening and stuff. And, I'm not looking to be famous, but I like it that people are listening to my podcast and they have watched a video and they've seen David and they recognized him. And so it's nice to know that I'm not sitting here talking to myself. And it's nice to see my numbers, my podcast increasing. And so we were talking about all that. But what he said to me today is like, you have to learn you can't be mean to people in public like that. And I said, what do you mean? He says, well, because one day somebody's going to film you whenever you're being mean. I'm like, but the guy deserved it. And the twinks that were in the bar groping him and stuff deserve to be told to stop or whatever. And I'll tell you another story is that when we were leaving Club Cafe, this twink that we were talking to earlier, who was pretty nice for the most part, he would try to make out with my friend Mark. And my friend Mark's like, nope, not today, moving his head away. The guy really tried to make out with him, like didn't even really know him. And fine, like we've all been there. But Mark's like, no, that ain't me. I'm not making out with this twink that I only talked to for 3 minutes. Mark is just like not like that. If I was single, maybe I would have done it, but I guess I'm more slutty. I wouldn't do it now, but I would have done it back then, I guess. But my podcast advisor is telling me that I need to learn to be more nice, that if people are starting to recognize me from my podcast in these gay bars and stuff, it's going to continue to happen more. And I don't want to be that person that gets caught on video being an asshole or saying something and they cut it up and they don't get the full story. Because I'm like, if that guy that was mean, that was not nice to me in the bar, that I was kind of like, not yelling at, but just like telling him how I felt on the sidewalk. He's like, if somebody was filming you doing that, they could have easily taken that and made it something else that it wasn't. I said, you're right. But I said, do I change myself? Because like, I don't want to like change who I am. And we'll be right back. Okay, now back to the show. If somebody wasn't nice to me and they come up to me trying to talk to me, I still want to be who I am. I still want to call them out saying like you weren't such a fucking great person in there. But he also said, like, you have to be careful because if people want you to sponsor their brands or whatever, you have to you don't want to be that person that's like on the internet that is always being nasty to people and stuff. I'm like, that's not me at all. I'm very nice to people. In fact, I'm probably too nice to people a lot of times because I'm the one that's going up to people in bars and talking to people and introducing my friends to people. I'm the friendly one. It's only when somebody is an asshole or a cunty to me is whenever I turn because I clap back and I know I shouldn't clap back and I should just be like, okay, that's who you are. And that's what I did in the bar. When the guys like didn't have an interest in me talking to him when he was with his throuple, he seemed no interest. And I said, okay, all right, you guys don't seem interested. Or I told the one that got broken up with, you don't seem interested. I'm leaving. Peace out. I'm out. And he came up to me afterwards. And I'm like, do you have multiple personalities? Do you have a split personality? Because you were not nice to me in the bar and now we're outside, you got broken up with. You want me to like console you and be your best friend? No, I'm going to call you out on who you are. You are a mean gay. You have no right to be a mean gay. There's so many things I could call out about you that are wrong. I'm not, but I'm telling you, don't come up to me telling me your sad story because I don't care. So I have to work on being a nicer person, even to people when they're not nice to me. I am no longer reading comments on my social media posts because I can't help myself but from clapping back and responding to when those trolls come out. The only time I will react to a comment or look at comments is if I have somebody that is on my podcast that is from a marginalized community. So if I have a transgender person that is on my podcast and people are saying nasty things about a transgender person, I will definitely go back in and delete the comments and probably send a response to them because that's just not acceptable. Or if somebody like my friend David, who just came out and they have something to say about him coming out, I don't allow that either. I don't allow people to be mean to people, but I'm really trying not to read comments because the comments, like, I just have to let them go. And my friend David, who has a big following on Instagram, his boyfriend told him, don't read the comments. Just don't read them. So I am not reading comments on Instagram anymore because if one person says one thing bad, I am so quick to go and respond. And I'm trying not to because it doesn't matter what they say. Have your opinion. Watch my 45-second clip. Look at my pictures and videos. And I'm not responding anymore. I'm going to try to be a nicer person. Even when these queens are bitchy and they're not nice, I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm going to try to be nicer and not let them get to me. It's just my whole life, 53 years, I have been this way and I just need to learn. I mean, I wasn't like this when I was a kid. I wasn't clapping back and being mean, but I just don't allow people to be rude to me or my friends. And, like I said before, when I was living in South Beach, me and my friend Tony should have got our ass kicked. We probably should have got punched in the face for many times for clapping back at people and not allowing people to be dirty bitches. And yeah, we really should have gotten fights many times when we were in our 20s because the things we said and the things we did were just mean. We were nice to people, but when people were like nasty or giving us attitude, and Miami is full of fucking queens with attitudes, we would just like give it back 10 times over. And yeah, we thought we were the queens of South Beach. How funny it is how you grow up and things change, doesn't it? Or do they not really change at all? Maybe I'm still the queen of South Beach if I went there, but not really. Anyway, that's my podcast for today. Thanks for listening to my gay bit. This is gay bit number 12. And we are almost out of the month of June. Can you believe this summer has started and it's going to be over and it's going to be fall before you know it? I am going to Provincetown in August. I wasn't excited about it. I wasn't going to go to Provincetown. And now I am going for a very short stay, but I'm going. I'm seeing all these changes in Provincetown about how things have closed and new things are opening, and the Crown and Anchor has been redone. I think it was sold. What else? There's been so many things in Provincetown that have changed because I follow these Instagram accounts in Provincetown, and I can't believe in how much stuff is closed down. Governor Bradford's, I think, was closed down or sold, or they weren't leasing anymore. And I think they're redoing it all. And Crown and Anchor, same thing. And if you're not familiar with these things, so you don't go to P-Town, like you won't know what I'm talking about, but check it out. Go to P-Town. If you're in the LGBTQ plus community, you definitely should go to P-Town at least once. If you go for a week, which is what people normally do, it is an expensive week. It is like you could go to Europe cheaper than going to P-Town because food is expensive. If you stayed in an Airbnb, that's expensive. If you stay at one of the hotels there, we usually say the Brass Key, expensive. You're going to spend $5,000 at least for 5 nights, and usually go for 7. So I mean, you're going to spend a lot of money, and all the food is so expensive. It is an expensive place. There's great shopping there, though. It's fun. Tea dance is amazing. If you haven't been, go. I have a feeling most people listening to the show have been at least once. And check it out. But thanks for listening to my show, and I will be back on Sunday with a brand new guest for you. Thanks so much for listening.